All right, good morning. Welcome, good morning. This is Devoted Heart Lauren with the Monday Awareness Upgrade. So, my theme offering for today and this week, something I've been thinking about, is the idea that, hear me out, you are addicted to suffering. So, this is inspired by the yogic principle of Santosha. Santosha is one of the niyama, one of the practices, the lifestyle practices in yoga philosophy. So it means contentment, and contentment is this idea of maintaining equanimity, maintaining an even ground state of being okay, as opposed to attaching yourself to the need for things to be really fun and exciting and pleasurable all the time, or the attachment to avoiding pain, right? So we can say the attachment to pleasure and the avoidance of pain, or we can say the attachment to pleasure and the attachment to not having pain, right? So they're both two sides of the same coin of attachment. However, the state of being in the middle, the state of kind of equanimity, equilibrium, just being okay, can be sort of uncomfortable for us. It can feel like, oh, I'm bored, like there's nothing happening, or I'm okay, but there's nothing good and there's nothing bad. And so then we have the need to fill what feels like a void with something. And ideally, we want to feel good, we want to fill with something that's pleasurable, but we also get in these cycles, I think, or I experience in my own life, and I definitely witness in others, that we get in these cycles of being attached to perpetuating our own suffering, right? So pain is unavoidable in our human experience. We definitely will experience pain at some point, even if it's just the pain of aging and our body depreciating and growing older and eventually moving towards leaving our body, towards death, right? So even if our life is perfect at face value, we still all experience that, okay? But we also tend to choose things that are uncomfortable, things that perpetuate the pain that we experience. And so that's suffering, the extension of pain based on our own action or inaction. And we have watched people in our lives, the people that raised us, our family, our parents, those that kind of taught us how to be human. We have watched those people make choices over and over again that leads to them perpetuating their own suffering, right? So eating things that aren't good for them, choosing to be around people or choosing to perpetuate habits that aren't good for them. And we pick that up. We pick that up and then we perpetuate that for ourselves. So suffering actually becomes a very familiar and comfortable place because we've seen everyone else do it and we feel like we can't avoid it. And to a certain degree, that's true. But also we can rewrite our story and we can expand our mind and our capacity to be well and transform into something that was beyond our previous conception, that we could even conceive about ourselves, living a life that is breaking through our own upper limits and our own preconceived notions and self-imposed limitations. So noticing when you are perpetuating your own suffering out of habit, because it actually feels familiar and comfortable to be there, and because somewhere in your mind you have perhaps told yourself that you don't deserve anything better, that you can't do anything different, that your family did this and that, and the people around you do this and that, and this is how people like me are, and this is how humans are, and whatever. And so you just keep choosing it because it feels right in a certain sense. It feels like normal. It feels like what's supposed to happen. So I've really been noticing this within myself when I make choices that are going to perpetuate my own suffering. And maybe I make a different choice, or there's definitely moments for me, and I'm sure for everyone, where it feels like, oh my gosh, I know what the thing is that I should do right now, and I can see myself not doing it, right? Like it just feels way too hard. Like, oh, I want to, like this person said this and I feel this way, and I know that to be really aligned with my soul and my true purpose, a good thing would be to actually not respond to them, or just to, take a few breaths and think about what the big picture is. But instead, I'm like, "Ooh," it's like this burning sensation, right? I'm sure we've all had the burning sensation where it's like, you have to do something. You have to do something instead of not doing something. And by doing it, you might actually further weave yourself into some karmic web and some situation that will perpetuate your struggle, your suffering. So noticing that, maybe making another choice, and we're moving towards making a different choice that will put an end to our pain and suffering. But in the meantime, just in creating the awareness, just in noticing that, it's really powerful. And then we can start to gradually create space between our thoughts and the truth. So that's a big yogic teaching. It's something that I've sort of synthesized and put into those words. That we're witnessing our mind, we're witnessing our behaviors and our patterns, and just creating some space between the truth and what the mind is actually telling you. Because the mind tells you things all the time that may or may not be even accurate, but they may or may not be aligned with the permanent truth that you really want to align yourself with, that you really want to perpetuate. Right? So the feelings, the momentary sensations and feelings that you have, they're real. And yet you might not want to act from that place, because then you'll be creating your world based on something that was temporary. So noticing that stuff and being like, okay, this is what feels true right now, but this is what really is true within the depths of my being, from this heart-centered perspective. This is what really is true. So creating space between anything that's happening in the temporary realm, including your mind, including your sensations, including what anybody is saying, including any email you just got, all of that kind of stuff that we experience in this modern life, right? So noticing all of that and being like, okay, I'm going to take a breath and I'm just going to create space between my thoughts, my temporary experience, and a more permanent, deeply rooted truth. And so from there, I'm creating awareness, and then I can begin to create more and more space, more and more awareness, so that I can make choices that will then not perpetuate my own suffering. Okay? And so what are some ways, I'm inviting you to look at, what are some ways that you do perpetuate your own suffering, that you might be addicted to keeping yourself in a low vibrational loop? So some things that I thought of are choosing to talk negatively about somebody, right? Like, I'm having an experience with somebody, they're irritating me, they've done this and that, they've said this and that, whatever. And that's all true, right? And it might not be the greatest in any case, but if I'm going to want to connect with somebody else on the level of speaking negatively about someone or about something, then I am putting us both in a low vibrational loop. Okay, so in the Yoga Sutra and yoga philosophy, the principle of satya, of truth, is described as something that is, with your words, you are instantly making manifest what you are saying, right? So if I say somebody is a certain way, then immediately it's true. And is that the actual truth that I want to perpetuate? And do I want to perpetuate myself as caught in this web of whatever that dynamic is? Or do I want to break out of it, right? So oftentimes we speak negatively about somebody else or another situation to make ourselves feel better, okay? And, acknowledging the truth of what's happening in the temporary realm can be really, can help to diffuse whatever the feelings are. But to what degree are you really going to talk about somebody else or something and put yourself, in that low vibrational loop, or just feed your ego? I'm right. This person did this and I'm right and they're wrong, and all of this sort of thing. Okay, so let me see. I want to just look at my notes, because I had another couple examples. Oh, do you notice when you think you're better than someone? So do you notice when you're judging someone? And judging someone is actually not going to work, right? So you might be having an experience with someone and you want to put them in a certain box, because that's what the mind does. The mind wants to figure out and categorize stuff. Okay, and so then all of a sudden I'm going to say, oh, this person did this, so they are flaky. Or this person did this, so I don't want to, talk to them or be around them anymore. And that might be true. We don't need to choose all of the relationships that we have the potential to be in or interact with. But can we not put somebody else in a box that's permanent, right? Because they are just acting based on their temporary truth as well, based on the things that they're feeling and the sensations that are washing over them. So in judging them, you're just feeding your own ego. You're feeding your own ego. You're feeding your own righteousness, right? And the more you make yourself right, the more you make everybody else wrong, and then the more you actually suffer. So that's a way of perpetuating your own suffering, even though it might seem like you're having like some sort of cathartic release of talking about something and whatever. But when you make yourself separate by judging everybody else and making them wrong, then all of a sudden you're alone, and you're perpetuating those feelings that go along with aloneness that might not be aligned with your highest vibration. So a big concept that I work with regard to yogic lifestyle principles, the yama and niyama, which I teach a whole course about, is how can you come from a place of giving? How can you come from a place of giving for yourself? And also, how can you come from a place of giving with others? So giving to yourself and giving to others, rather than trying to take something, rather than trying to, I'm going to take back my power or my self-worth that it feels like is being threatened by whatever this other person is doing. But really, that's my own inner work. And I get to ask myself, how can I give to myself? How can I love myself in a way where it doesn't really matter what anybody else does? And I talked about this a couple of weeks ago with regard to not taking things personally. So when you practice not taking things personally, then all of a sudden you're free. You're free of what anybody else does. And that doesn't mean, like I said, that doesn't mean that you have to be in relationship with them. That doesn't mean you have to interact with them on any level. But all of a sudden, the stuff that somebody else does means nothing about who you are. Okay? And whether they do the thing or whether it's a lack of doing the thing, you still get to be empowered, and you still get to be loved, and you get to choose situations and people and relationships and habits that fill up your own well with love. So, my invitation to you is to look at ways that you choose things that are going to perpetuate your suffering, that are going to you're going to make yourself right in thinking, oh, I can't do anymore. I can't transform anymore. I can't grow anymore. I can't be any better than I currently am. So I may as well blah, 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 blah. I may as well eat the whole carton of ice cream. I may as well just talk shit and inflate my own ego, right? I may as well, whatever it is, whatever your habits are. And, this stuff can be really tricky. It can be very subtle. So really notice the things that you do and what vibrational state they get you in and what you are aligned with. Okay, so how can you realign yourself with your highest vibration and be okay in the middle ground of being okay? So it doesn't need to be that things are fun and exciting and wonderful all the time, but we also don't want to be in a loop of constantly choosing suffering because we think we don't deserve anything else. So the practice of santosha, contentment, is maintaining that equanimity in the middle ground and being like, I'm okay regardless of the fluctuations that are going on around me. I'm okay even in the state of feeling like there's nothing going on. I'm okay in a state of boredom. A question that I asked myself at one point when I was going over this material is, do I feel bored because I'm addicted to suffering? Right? So when there's nothing happening, does it feel like, oh, I should do something to fill that void? And maybe if there's nothing, that I'm really excited about that feels good to fill that void, then I'm actually going to fill that void with indulging in something that will make me feel worse. So let's sit for a moment and bring your hands to your heart. And as you breathe into your whole body, can you let your breath expand your body? Expand your heart. and expand your capacity to receive from yourself, from the things that you give yourself, and also receive from those around you, from the outside world, from the universe, from the divine. So in what ways can you break the chain of suffering? The ways in which you perpetuate suffering, the ways in which you might be addicted to suffering because you don't think you deserve anything else, or you don't think it's possible for you. And holding compassion for yourself and forgiveness for yourself for the times that you have chosen, consciously or unconsciously, to suffer rather than breaking the chain of suffering. Because you have learned from other humans who have been in their own ways addicted to suffering and perpetuating their own low vibrational patterns. So sending them some love, whoever the humans are that taught you how to be a human. And sending yourself some love and forgiveness for doing your best, for constantly doing your best. And also, as you learn and grow, giving yourself permission and power to do a little better, to refine, to align with what you really want, rather than just always accepting the first offer. So what can you choose today that's aligned with expansion? What can you choose today that will serve to prove yourself wrong about the negative things that you have believed about yourself and perpetuated? What can you choose today that will help you to contemplate and or break through your self-imposed limitations, the glass ceiling that you have built over yourself? Can you practice noticing discomfort, noticing pain that may arise just as related to your human experience? So it's natural for us to experience pain and discomfort. But can you continue to return to that middle ground, that place of equanimity, where you don't need things to be a specific way in order for you to be okay? Where it's okay for you to be okay, and you don't need to fill the void with something to dull or dim your light. What can you choose that will allow you to expand to your next level? take a few more breaths. Bowing your head to your heart. May we continue to create awareness and create possibilities for you to break through your own perceived limitations, the things that you have inherited that you didn't choose, but you might be consciously or unconsciously perpetuating. How can you break the chain and break your own addiction to suffering? Let the eyes open. Thanks so much, everybody. I hope that was useful. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I am offering a donation-based yoga class on Thanksgiving from 10 to 11 a.m. It's going to benefit refugees in Jersey City. It's called Welcome Home Jersey City, the organization I'm supporting. So there's a link in my profile. You can donate regardless. If you sign up, and I mean, you can donate or not, but you can still come to the class. You'll get a Zoom link in your email. And that's it. Have a beautiful Monday. Have a great week. See you soon.